Hey, this is Steve Good,
And Yuri Cataldo, as always.
and we are here to talk about Coin Cartel stuff that we're doing and Patreon stuff that we're doing around Bitcoin and Ethereum right now because there's been some incredible moves.
There have. I know that a week ago we talked about particularly this $100 million flooding of the Bitcoin market, which has then caused Bitcoin, Ethereum to just jump up, which is awesome. Now people are talking and asking the question: Is this the end of or is this the end of the bear market? And then conversely, we've been watching the alts crash. So I'd like to talk about that today and see why what's happening then with the charts and the market, and then also look at some of the alts and see why some of them, like including Bitcoin Cash, actually has just started crapping out.
Sure. Let's do to
the charts. Sorry,
yeah.
to the charts. I got a little distracted.
So, okay, this is Bitcoin in a daily chart, and you've got this big green line here, which was our long-term, really long-term downtrend. And when we blew past, we kind of skirted across it just kind of temporarily. And then, oh my God, we just blew through it. Now, of course, there's a lot of speculation that some big buyer just jumped in and started this whole thing, which may be one person and maybe an institution buying from multiple locations. We don't know.
Right. No,
and
I've heard a lot of speculation.
Who cares, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What I care about more than anything is when I look at this 200-day moving average right here. This is the one that we've been tracking that was really critical for us. We needed to get past it. Well, we did. We have now crossed over the 200-day moving average. And the other thing we always are looking for is this one, the 50-day to cross the 200. That's the golden cross that we want. Now, we're not there yet, but we're damn close. I mean, we've really made a massive turn here. I mean, look at this curve, curving around and all the way up. We blew past the resistance points over here at the 4,200 level. We've got past the 5,000 level. And look, I mean, look at kind of where we should go next. I'm going to just remove one of these other lines here because it may hopefully not be relevant anymore. But if I look at a line and take it like over here, we're talking about something that's up in the heady heights of a new, kind of a new region like 5,700, or we then move to the next level up, which is someplace in here where you're 65.
Okay.
So in the meantime, while all that's kind of progressing along, the most important thing for me is we want to see this 50 cross the 200. And that's when I'll say, you know what, there's our golden cross and we want it to close and just keep going. That's ideal. I mean, it could crisscross up and down around it for a while if it so chose. But I mean, the reality is we crossed the 200. That's a major step. We've crossed through all the major boundaries. We're now going to go up and try to test this 50, we'll call it 5,700 because we're in USD Tether here. Binance, TradingView and Binance. But yeah, I mean, we're in a new, I mean, this whole kind of big gapping down, we're closing that gap off, which is why I really feel like we're going to head right to 56, 57 with some ease. And easily could even take us all the way up to this next level up here, which is around 6,000. So heading to 6,000 doesn't seem all that hard. Heading to 65 doesn't seem all that hard. And then the question will be, well, what happens next? Because this is where we had this long process in here where we had a lot of fighting going on around 65. And the question is, do we break out at 65 or do we get stuck at 65? In the meantime, while that's all happening, the 50-day will cross the 200-day, and then we can effectively say that on a daily basis we're in bull territory when that happens. But I like to be a little cautious. I kind of think we're in a bullish territory, but you and I have been hinting at that for a while by telling people to consolidate back in here. And for those of you who did, well done. Those of you who didn't, please join us on our Coin Cartel, where we tell you this stuff so that you don't miss out. Because this is what we said. We called it. We said, buy in this zone of accumulation, because if it drops down, you can get out, and if it goes up above, you can make some money. And now you'd be in. People that did it would have been in at 3,800, Yuri.
Right. I know. They just missed out. Maybe.
Well, I mean, there's always points where you can set sell points. I mean, if you're so worried, you set a target to sell at 48.65 or something, and if it goes down to 48.65, so be it. And if it comes down below, you buy it again. No problem. But in the meantime, we did say to people, start accumulating in this little range just in case. And lo and behold, here we are. So it's looking good, but I've got that one final thing I want to see, which is 50 cross 200.
Okay.
And then I'm okay. Then I'll be in a much better place.
All right. And then you're going to officially say, yes, we are for sure in the bull territory.
Well, 50, I mean, I've seen Tom Lee has now said he thinks we're in bull territory, and Tom's a pretty respectable guy. So sure. I can't disagree that things are looking very bullish. We hit a bottom down here. We double tested a bottom there, and we haven't returned back to that. And every time we hit different bottoms, we drew along this line here, this line, along here. And we even say that there's another line that's along here. I think we drew it at this point.
Yep.
At one point. And we've just continued along it. But if this were this purple line were a support line, then you could argue that we could still come all the way back down to 41. Sorry, which I would hope wouldn't be the case. But, I mean,
you never know.
We have seen what parabolic Bitcoin looks like, dare I say, in the past. We know what that looks like. I can zoom all the way back and show you, because I'm sure you're dying to know what it was like being in that place once before. And if you look at this, look at how remarkably similar this kind of, wow, massive streak upwards. And look at the streak here. There's a similarity there. But people say this time we could go to 55,000 or 75,000. So if that's the case, guys, if you don't have Bitcoin, make sure you have some. But we can't say when to buy it now because we're in the middle of something that's going on that looks corrective in nature. But just be aware and be careful whatever you do, because, as we say, have your stop limit just in case. And, of course, join us, give us a donation, join us in the Coin Cartel, where we'll tell you what's going on more regularly like this, day to day, in the Telegram chat, private group. So welcome to come and join us there. Cool. So that's my view on Bitcoin. I think we've got the makings of a parabolic move up again.
Okay.
I don't know how high. Go on.
So do you think there has to be some other news to pop, or is it just, so I know we're seeing a lot more, since that big, whatever it was, 100 million in introduction to the market. Now people are starting to talk more about it. I feel like the market's getting a little more active. Does an ETF need to pop in order for you to see it? Or do you know
what? I think there's about I'll rattle off about 8 or 10 things that I think could happen that would make crypto jump.
Okay.
Like for real. Facebook launches something that allows you to send money inside of Facebook. Twitter enables you to make payments to buy advertising using crypto. Amazon suddenly says you can pay with PayPal, but you can also pay with Bitcoin. eBay says, you know what? If you want to buy something, you can use PayPal. The ETF could be approved by the SEC. The SEC could make new rules about how cryptocurrency could be a more valid means of fundraising in a legal way under very specific guidelines, following up from the guidelines that we've talked about in an episode which will be out shortly that we haven't released yet. But certainly in that vein, that could happen. Other governments could potentially open up and say, you know what, we're legalizing the whole thing for this, that, or the other. Or other countries, for that matter, may as well say, what if Japan were to say, you know what, we're going to make Bitcoin a valid currency. I mean, Japan's already very friendly to this. But what if another country were to say, we're going to open up the door and make it that it's their national currency? What if Venezuela turned around and said, you know what, stuff our Bolivar, which is dead anyway, sad to say. What if we decide we're just going to switch to Bitcoin as our national currency, the way that Ecuador already uses the US dollar as the national currency? What's to stop someone from doing that?
Right. So absolutely nothing. Excellent.
Any of these types of things are going to be catalysts that just validates further the need and the use case for why crypto is an absolute critical essential thing. I mean, what if Netflix were to open it up and say, we realize that, that a huge part of the world is unbanked, meaning they don't have bank accounts, they can't get access to the bank, they may not have credit cards, but they'd like to use our services and they want to find an easy way to buy video content on demand. So we're going to make the world an accessible place by letting people use their wallets from their phones and a QR code, and we're going to let them buy content straight here within whatever country you're in, paid for with Bitcoin or Litecoin or Ethereum or Ripple or whatever. Imagine that. So any of these things could happen, which I think could have a quite positive impact at a consumer level, notwithstanding we haven't even talked about at corporate level, institutions announcing things, banks announcing something more significant than the JPM coin, but something real significant. You know, deposits accepted in Bitcoin here, where the banks could provide custodial services, give you your private keys, and have a hybrid bank account plus, you know, crypto account. And if anybody in the banking world is watching and you need help to figure this out, I spent 20 years in fintech. So I'll be happy to help you guys figure out how to create a hybrid. And my apologies for another episode that'll be out shortly where I've torn into you guys for not doing it. Reality is I'm actually here to help you guys, but I have to be honest about where we're at. So sorry, we're diverting all over the place, but these are just thousands of things fundamentally that could happen positively. And of course, as long as people keep buying, I mean, maybe we'll get another wave of this, you know, ICO stuff. And the IEO stuff is going on now. More activity there. That's exciting. We need more of that. You know, we need a lot more activity and momentum. But I think there's some enthusiasm now starting to form. But I think people have been burnt for so long. They're sitting there going, ooh, I don't know if I should do this or not, right? It's so typical, right?
It is, you know.
And you know this whole thing about the early adopters and the late adopters and all the ones in the middle. I forget there's like 4 quadrants.
Yeah, I forget that too.
It feels like we're back in 2000 and let's say 10 or 11 or 12, where people were like, or even 2015 or 2016, when Bitcoin was like a discussion point and people were charting it going, ooh, this is interesting. And those who got in then were like, oh yeah, I'm an early adopter. And most people just missed it. This is reminiscent of that time frame for me, where people were jumping in going, I'm excited about it, but most people were watching. And because we've been in pain for so long, I think more people are sitting on the sidelines going, is this real? And it's going to pass them by again. And they're going to go, damn it, that's twice it happened. What happened to me? So yes, there's a lot of catalysts that are going to drive this up, but we may not need any fundamental catalysts, but a couple of them sure wouldn't hurt.
Sure.
Oh no! So actually, there was one interesting piece of news. Actually, sorry. Andreessen Horowitz, one of the big venture capital firms, announced that they're going to deregulate or deregister themselves as a traditional venture capital fund, because the laws and regulations around being a VC are that you're only allowed to invest 20% of holdings into crypto. So they're going to deregulate themselves out of being a traditional VC into, I forget what it was called now, but something. Do you remember what it was called?
It's like an advisor. They're like becoming some kind of advisor fund.
Financial advisor, so that they can invest more into crypto.
Yeah, which is fantastic.
That's the reason why. So that's another catalyst about, you know, institutional money moving. Who knows? For all we know, Andreessen Horowitz were the guys that did the purchase and drove the price up, and then announced afterwards what they've done.
It's very possible.
Because that's not unusual. This is my experience in fintech, is you normally do it first and announce afterwards, so long as you've done the filing before you made the move, which is most likely. I bet you if we looked up the dates when they did the filing, might say, dare I say, that Andreessen Horowitz were one of the people behind that big move. And if I'm right, and Andreessen Horowitz is listening, feel free to ping to us and say, keep it to yourselves.
That's right. Shh, keep it quiet, but
don't say anything.
Exactly.
Too late.
Too late. All right, so let's look at Ethereum then, who was also as a nice jump too.
Well, I just switched over to Ethereum. Can you see it on the screen, or do I need to pop out and in again?
Nope, I can see it.
Great. Okay, so I mean, look, we had tracked a whole kind of Fibonacci retracement thing, and we passed all the Fibonacci because the retracement was up to this level here around the 160 level, and we've blown past that. So I'm gonna delete that one. We're gonna have to retrace to something way back over here somewhere, and look at that takes us all the little double hearts are still there. How nice. But yeah, look, same thing here. It's identical to Bitcoin when you look at the chart, and it's gone parabolic the same way, spiraling upwards in a great way. But we passed the 160 level. We're trading right now at 177 USD tether. We had an all-time high now of 185.87 USD tether. I don't know what USD what it is, but pretty damn close, I'm sure. And really the next level you're looking at now is, well, after 180 is way up here at 200 and, dare I say, 210.
210.
Now, I saw people in the news talking about 200. Let's see if there's a 200 in here. I mean, maybe if you look at the bottom there, surpassing that bottom there, which is kind of correspondingly passing the bottom here, bottom here, bottom here, that's around 200. So that would be our point of resistance, quite possibly these bottoms that used to be support, that now are resistance points. So yeah, so 200 would be the level I'd be looking for as the next move up, and it's getting above that. But it certainly looks like we're going to do that as well. And then we're back to the old game again of where are we heading next, which is 256, and then if you start to really scroll back and look at the historical drop, I mean, you see this big, huge whacking drop, and then the stabilization that's in this range around almost 300. So, again, same thing. We had drawn out this line around the 200-day moving average. We've clearly had this blue line that was our projected line, which we're going to take out now. We'll zoom in there. You can see we've crossed over the 200, but look at this 50-day moving average here, the blue one. It's a little hard to see. I know. I'm going to take some of the other lines out so you can see that.
Yeah. Like which of your blue lines am I looking at? I know I can see it.
I'm going to just
there
remove the other ones. Yeah. So if you look at this, this was just our long-term, line of drawing up. I'll take that out for the moment. We don't really need that right now. But what you see here, which I find fascinating, is this. We're in the zone here. I mean, this is really like, I'm excited when I talk about this. This is like, woo, we're about to cross. This is our golden cross right here, just about to hit. It's going to hit earlier on Ethereum than Bitcoin. Now, that is something very interesting, people that are watching this, okay? If you think about where you want to be right now between Ethereum and Bitcoin, I don't care what the analysts are telling you. The golden cross is the first sign of a bull market for a coin. If Ether crosses first before Bitcoin, don't be surprised if Ether moves even bigger first. Because remember, relatively speaking, Bitcoin to Ether at one stage was at 0.15 relation-wise. It's now at 0.035 or something, okay? So we're 1/5 of where we were in terms of the price of Ether to Bitcoin. That's how depressed Ether is. So if anybody wants to suggest anything about Ether, I would say there's possibly, first of all, there's more volatility with Ether. When Ether goes down, it goes down more than Bitcoin. When it goes up, it generally goes up more than Bitcoin. And dare I say, it's more depressed than Bitcoin, relatively speaking, to what we saw 18 months ago or 12 months ago. I could argue here that if we hit the golden cross here first, which is quite likely, don't be surprised if we see a bigger move on Ether than we've seen on Bitcoin, percentage-wise.
Percentage-wise, okay.
Yeah. So if it happens, don't tell me I didn't call it first. Because I honestly think a golden cross, which is typical bull sign, is going to be an impetus for us to move. It might be that Ether moves and Bitcoin trails behind in terms of they both go up together, but this might be the cause of it, not the other way around. Nobody in the analyst world is talking this way because everything in the news is Bitcoin, Bitcoin, like a tunnel vision. But the reality is Bitcoin and Ether are the two underlying primary coins of the entire ecosystem of crypto. Bitcoin being the primary and the first one, but Ether is a massive coin that people underestimate its use case because of the smart contract functions and capability and all the new things that they're adding in post-Constantinople. I knew I could say it. So we got to watch for this. This is big. And people that are in our cartel, take note, okay? When this crosses, don't come to me running to me now saying I didn't buy Ether and you were right. I didn't say go buy Ether. I said watch this golden cross and watch what happens to Ether when it crosses.
Right. So let's so I know we've gone a little bit longer than we usually do on this, but let's say, for example, hypothetically, golden cross does happen. What is do you even have like a price target for that? Or are you like, we should just watch it and wait and see?
Well, I mean, we have some, I mean, there's no particular reason for it to go a certain amount upwards other than this kind of big kind of, messy zone in the 230 range. But I'm not expecting it to go flying at like such a pace that it's going to go way, way, way up really, 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 really fast. But what I would say is that if I were to just kind of try to look back a bit further and see if I can pull this back a bit more so we can just see what's going on here. I mean, it was quite a significant drop, but it was in waves, down and down and up and down, confusing. I mean, there's something to be said that, I mean, look at, just how easy is it to get up to, like, look at this W formation in here, and it popped up and then dropped again. I mean, and all that support or resistance is right there at 500. you know, and this is a big long wedge going down with just nothing in between other than maybe historically over here, a wedge going up. How funny. There's the wedge up and there's your wedge down. And there's not a lot of support or resistance either way in between this range between 300 and 500. So don't be surprised if over the course of, you know, how many, what, a week and a half? Let's see how many days that is. That's the 15th.
Yeah.
And that's the 13th. So it's a month.
For a month, okay.
On the other side over here, it was the 11th. Oh, the 10th or the 11th, and it went all the way up to the 26th, within 3 weeks, say. So I wouldn't be surprised that if suddenly when we get up to around this 240, 250 range, or maybe let's just call it 300, if it goes from 300 and then just massively propels up to 550, I would not be surprised because we have historical precedent twice, once up, once down.
Perfect, perfect. Well, it's good to know. It's important things to watch right now too. Excellent.
Yeah. So that's where I think we are. That's going to be really interesting. And it looks like such a big, huge gap. But I mean, look at this drop. I mean, this drop was done over a very short time. And look at how it gapped up from here up to here in such a short period of time. I mean, my goodness, you know, it's not like we should be shocked if from the 4th to the, within a month, it moved that much over that short period of time, you know, 3 weeks, massive spikes upwards like that. I mean, we've forgotten this, Yuri. We haven't seen it in such a long time. We don't realize what 3 weeks can do. But
that's right.
Look, let's just say this. If we get to the 250, 300 range, and then we pop to 550, we set it here.
Yeah.
If it doesn't pop to 550, because other things happen or some bad news comes in the market, fair dues, that's other things that happen. This is just one possible outcome, but one I will not be surprised by given what we see on these charts here.
Yeah. Excellent. But you've heard it here first, folks.
Yes.
We're very optimistic about this, and we're watching it closely.
So those of us in the cartel that are listening to this, or those of you that are on Patreon listening to this, good for you. You're in the know. And for those who are not listening to this, make sure you tell your friends because they want to know about this too, I presume.
Everybody does. Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. So I know you quickly wanted to ask about altcoins. So do you want to just take 2 minutes and we'll tell people what's happening in the altcoin world?
Sure. Yeah. So there is, I know we've watched similar correlations happening, but of course, you know, as I mentioned in the very beginning, Bitcoin, Ethereum are having a huge jump, and our altcoins, which were doing much better before, and now seem to be losing some momentum. Is there something particular that you're noticing, or how do you think
this has always been the case with trading in alts versus Bitcoin Ether? When Bitcoin and Ether are on the way down or the way up, they usually, well, if they're on the way up, what usually happens is they take off and people are literally moving from the alts into Bitcoin or Ether to try to grow their total amount. And because doing that will actually cause the altcoin to drop.
Sure.
So that's also partially propelling the movement of the coin up. And partially it's just that spread that occurs that pulls the price down. So it's just gapping up. So yeah, the alts are always affected by this. And usually what happens is it spikes up and then it levels out and then the alts catch up and then the Bitcoin moves up again. So be aware that this it was the other way around. We were in alt season for like 2-3 months, I think from about maybe October, November till about March, or maybe about 6 months almost. We had a great alt market. We might be shifting where the alts are going to play a catch-up game for a little bit. So if you're in alts, just hold tight. I can't say there's anything I can advise you to do because I can't advise you. It's a little bit messy. Alts are a little bit messy right now because of the fact that Bitcoin and Ether are on a tear. So yeah, you're going to experience that. And when Bitcoin and Ether tend to go down, sometimes the alts go down with it. It's only during periods where it's just kind of more smooth that the alts tend to be able to catch up.
Okay.
But there's a lot of enthusiasm, then people are just kind of reaping on the benefits of the coin going up. And then when they see points of opportunity to grab the alts cheap, they grab cheap, drives the alt back up, and then people switch back again. So it's really hard to time that part of it. So that's the hardest thing right now for us, even for us with our group, figuring out what to tell people because, you know, we can't say specifically there's any one coin that's chart is looking amazing because they've all been slammed out of nowhere from this move that occurred over one particular acquisition that just drove the whole thing.
Right. Right. Well, which is even more reason to work with us because we take the time to do the things that not people have time to do, which is to watch the charts, look for movements, let our group know ahead of time when to look for momentum and get in and get out.
Absolutely. So that's why we put this episode out to everybody in the public, so you all get the benefit of knowing what's going on and what we're doing. Of course, this episode is in our Patreon channel. It's also in our Coin Cartel group as well, so everybody gets to see this. This is the kind of stuff we do all the time, but we're putting this one out there for everybody because we want people to benefit and to be able to grow their coins, and we are here to help you guys. We're not just doing our show and our interviews and calling out scams. We do other things too. This is one of them. And this is the way that we can try to add value to everybody. And this is why we ask for a donation to help us. So with that, let's wrap it up. And I'll just say this. Thank you guys, everybody, for listening, subscribing, watching. Do give us a like and subscribe to this episode. And please do give us a donation and join our cartel because it's where we like to make money. And with that, I will say the words that are so meaningful when it comes to trading. To the moon.
To the moon.
To the moon. Until next time.